Hi Gemini, this is your astrology forecast for November 2015. At the beginning of November, I think you're going to feel a little bit perplexed because your information, the source of your information, is going to come via your feelings. And you're going to have very, very strong feelings about your work in particular and how you're going to structure your work moving forward. Listen to those insights that you get around the first of the month. They will have the strength to really shape your work in future. Mercury goes into Scorpio on the 2nd of November, and this is your ruling planet. In Scorpio, it makes you really, really focused on the emotional side of things, and that's not something you're particularly into because you like to keep it going. You keep it light and breezy, and what's the next thing? And Scorpio is kind of diving down, still flexible, but it's darker than usual, and you're going to find yourself thinking about your working life and your day-to-day routine more heavily than you usually would. So if the job has never been an issue, then now it's like, oh, okay, I saw the same person at the bus stop for the last 7 days, and this is starting to feel like a grind. So there's a tendency to get a little bit blue, a little bit negative about any kind of repetition. So just watch out for that. Neptune trines the Sun on the 3rd of November, and it lasts until the 6th of November. The Sun is your identity and Neptune is the dream, and it's the intuition. When they connect, it makes that central part of your personality, and you're going to get dreams, feelings, insights, intuitive hits, whatever you want to call it, about your work and how you're going to achieve what you want to achieve and whether it's right or not. If it's not right, that's not going to feel comfortable because you're going to have dreams saying, you know, change your job, do something else. I would recommend that you heed those things because even though it's uncomfortable, ultimately you want to end up happy. And if you're in a job you hate, then why ignore those messages and stay there? The moon starts to trine Uranus on the 4th. And Uranus is in your 11th house of your friendships and your hopes and dreams. And the moon is in Leo in your 3rd house of communication. You're going to feel very comfortable owning your own stuff, saying, this is me. You know, warts and all, this is me, what I'm really like, and this is what I'd like to achieve, and these are my dreams. And that is really clear. You know, usually it's like, oh, you know, I can't be a rocket scientist because I only have an IQ of 110, and or I can't be an artist because I was raised in a working class family and they would all look down on me if I became some intellectual or whatever. This is just like, the 4th is, this is what my dream is. I'm not interested in anyone else. This is my little flame of desire, of passion that's burning in my chest, and this is what it is. So take a little lamp, put that flame in there, safeguard it, look at it, write it down and say, this is my dream, because it comes on the 4th. You know, if I listened to what other people wanted for me, I'd be an industrial psychologist or I'd be a lawyer. And I'm really glad I'm neither of those things, so there you go. Jupiter starts to trine it has started to trine Pluto on the 8th of September, and it stays in that trine connection until the 20th of November. The 5th and 6th of November, though, particularly are very, very strong with that trine connection. Now, you've got a lot going on in your 4th house of family this month. There's a lot of connection with family, there's a lot of practical decisions you have to make. And Pluto in the 8th means that something is going to come in, something new or something old that kind of comes back to life appears in your family. So that could be a family member who hasn't been around. It could be an issue that you thought you'd put to bed long ago. It could be a family business that may be finished and and the ideas around starting up that family business come up again. But it's something that you thought was left in the past reappears. On the 7th, there's a yod in the chart, and I don't speak about yods a lot because they're very rare, and this is kind of the finger of God. It's 2 quincunxes in a sextile. It's between your Sun and your Jupiter, and they culminate in Uranus in your 11th house. This is very much about your identity, how you see yourself, and how your family either have supported that or held you back, and how it's going to be in future. So I gave you that example of, you know, the lawyer kind of industrial psychologist thing earlier and the flame. That comes up again on the 7th, and you're really going to realize And God, if you believe in God or the universe or the higher power or your intuition or your inner sense of self, whatever it is, who knows where these things come from, but something comes in and you realize who you really are. Okay? And if you're from a family of musicians and you've always wanted to be a welder, you're going to realize that you want to be a welder today. You know, whatever the consequences of that are. And it's important to own that. You know, it's important to say, this is my dream. You only get to be on this planet for a number of years, and so do your family. And just because you share the same time on planet Earth doesn't mean you have to conform to everything they say. You're just as entitled to do whatever it is you want as they are. On the 8th and 9th of November, there is a connection here that makes you consider your own dreams, and it makes you consider the feelings of others as well. But the main thing that you should focus on, rather than how do I feel, what do they feel, look at this in a practical sense and how can I make this work? You know, it's one thing wanting to be a welder, but if you are in, I don't know, if you live underwater with Ariel the mermaid, there's not going to be very much business for you welding stuff. You're going to be making seashells or whatever. So make sure that the dream and the thing you're going head to head with people is actually a practical consideration. There's no point in going to war with people or asserting yourself for something that's pointless anyway. Venus goes into Libra on the 9th, and that's in your 5th house, and that's beautiful because Venus is the goddess of love, the planet of love. It rules Libra, so it's very happy there. Love permeates your life. It permeates your 5th house, which is the house of romance and children. So you become much more loving. People are much more loving to you. And, you know, the ironic thing is usually when you assert yourself and when you say, no, this is what I'm going to do, people actually respect you for it. So it may be that it even comes about as a result of your own newfound strength. And there you go with that. The Moon and Neptune connect on the 10th. Neptune's in your work sector, the Moon's in your 6th sector of day-to-day work. You get a message about what your new work is going to be. And a message, I don't mean a fax, and I don't mean like a pigeon landing on your windowsill. I mean a feeling or a dream or an insight, or just a knowing. So Gemini, you know, you're a thinker, you're clever, you're witty, you're resourceful, you're able to find things out, okay? The glyph of your sign is a Roman numeral 2. If you go through that 2, you get somewhere else, okay? This month, the way you're going to get to that place of understanding and discovery is through your feelings. You're highly intuitive this month, and a lot of signs are, because Halloween was a big intuitive kind of event. There's so much water floating around the atmosphere at the moment. The veil is thin. Messages are coming through. It's all happening at the moment, so look out for that. The new moon occurs on the 11th, and the new moon is in Scorpio in your 6th house. So what energy can you put into your working life to feel better about it? How can you create the job that you want? Is it by being true to your dream? Is it by listening to what your family say? Is it by being practical? Listen to your gut about what you've always wanted to do. It's there for a reason. Jupiter sextiles the Sun, and it sextiles Mercury as well on the 12th. So this is an interesting day because there's a lot of positive stuff coming out of your family life now, especially in a practical sense. And I think it's more in passing. I think someone says something in passing that really connect with you on an emotional level, and that gives you a real ding moment. This is what I should be doing, and you really get it. And you've been kind of quibbling about what should I do with work, how do I feel, what should I change, and today the penny drops and you get an insight that really says, there we go, that's it. Mars goes into Libra on the 13th of November. And it also goes into your 5th house of romance and relationship. So Venus is already there, you know, sprinkling her loving kind of fairy dust along. And now Mars comes in, and Mars is the archetypal male, and Mars is the soldier, and Mars is, you know, Venus's partner in a kind of romantic way. And both of them in Libra, Mars isn't that pleased in Libra, because Mars is kind of more rugged. Mars is like, let's get things done. But rather than, so let's say it's like, you know, a footballer who's like really attractive, who's like, yeah, really handsome. He's handsome because he does a lot of sport and he plays sports all the time. On the 13th of November, they're going to dress up that footballer in some, I don't know, David Beckham underwear and take some photo shoots, okay? So the archetypal male principle is looking really good. There's a connection with the archetypal female principle, and what that does is, because that increased connection is there and there's no conflict, they create something wonderful in themselves. So for you, Gemini, it's a wonderful time to either find someone that you are totally enamored with or something you're totally enamored with. And again, it's got that double-edged thing about it's not just good for you, it's good for other people as well. There's a greater perspective to all of this at the moment. So, you know, if Mozart's parents had hated each other, we wouldn't have the great music that we've got. So there's a point to it sometimes. So just trust that there's a point to it, even if you can't see it yet. Now, the chart does something really interesting on the 14th. It clears out pretty much your first quadrant, houses 1, 2, and 3, and also house 12. So the focus is on all this other stuff, and you completely lose your personal sense of me. I think you become really selfless, and I think you become totally focused on the other. So it may be that you meet that one person, or that you become totally enamored and it completely absorbs you and you lose your own sense of self. And that's a great feeling, to completely dissolve into something else, isn't it? Because we're always so, I mean, that's what drugs are about. Often people take drugs to escape, or to broaden their mindset, or to discover something new. And when you're stuck in yourself, oh, my foot hurts and I have to plug in my iPhone and how much money do I have in my account, it gets tedious. And by connecting with something outside of yourself, that really refreshes you, and that really gives energy. If we're constantly focused on ourselves at the moment, it can do your head in. So the 14th is you're completely selfless, and your own sense of ego dissolves in some way. And what can you do with that? You can experience the day and just relax. You can enjoy a day free of worries and concern, and you can plan whatever it is you want to do. On the 16th, Jupiter trines the Moon and Pluto in Capricorn. So again, family really influences you very nicely this month. Jupiter and the North Node, they sit in your 4th house of family, and a lot of good stuff comes out of your family. And that kind of seems to contradict what I said earlier about what do I want to do for work. But at the beginning of the month, I think you really do need to stick with what you want to do. And kind of unexpectedly, your family and those nearest to you then inform you about good ways of following your own dream in some way, which you didn't expect. Yeah, if so let's say my father's a college professor, but I want to be I don't know, on Big Brother or something like that. Something he would totally think is rubbish. But I decide I am going to be on Big Brother, that's what I'm going to do with my life, I'm doing it. And then, just out of the blue, the professor dad mentions that he just happens to know a producer or something because he was one of his students a while ago, and he didn't even connect the dots. That's the kind of thing that could then help you be the Big Brother contestant, even though the family member didn't approve of it. Do you see what I mean? So it comes kind of sideways, and it helps you out in an unexpected way. That's interesting. Okay. Uranus begins to oppose Venus, and it does that for a couple of days. It does that, and quite a few days actually. It does that until the 28th of November, so 11 days. Okay. Venus is the planet of love in your 5th house of romance, and Uranus is chaos and the unpredictable in your 11th house of your social circle. You're going to meet new people. You're going to have to apply yourself though, so make sure you get out and about. If you haven't met that one thing, that one thing or person that you completely fell in love with, there's real scope to discover something completely unexpected between the 17th and the 28th. So it's interesting, Gemini, but you know, you're so focused on discovery in general, and this month is really about discovering your feelings towards another thing or another person. It's a month of discovery for you. And something beyond your wildest dreams appears that you couldn't have planned for. Manifestation is great, but I personally, and I've said this before, I personally think the things that you could have never expected that just come up in life, that you didn't see coming, those are the greatest. Because it's like, yes, life is blessing me, life is giving me something fabulous here. The moon begins to square your Sun, Mercury, Midheaven and Saturn on the 19th. And this, what I've put in brackets here is major issues, reevaluation. And the major issues are going to be, what am I doing with my relationships now? It comes into question. So you're a little bit all over the place. You're not really sure of whether you're right or whether you're wrong or da-da-da-da-da. And again, don't listen to outside influences. If you're not sure about what you're meant to be doing, connect with spirit, connect with the universe, connect with the higher power, whatever faith you've got, because that's where your good comes from. And that always wants your very best. And you can trust that. And remember, it's a highly intuitive month for you. So your feelings, that information will come through your feelings and you'll get your answers that way. There's a temptation though to go to your vocation counselor or to go to your dad or to go to your best friend and say, I have no idea what I'm doing, what do you think? And they don't always give you great advice, especially this month. And I think the best answers you're going to get are going to come from in here. Mercury moves into Sagittarius on the 21st, and that's helpful because Sagittarius is very focused on the higher realms of the bigger picture. And I think Mercury as the communication planet means that you start to communicate around things that are really meaningful. And I think by doing research, speaking to the higher realms, by connecting with your spirituality, you find that structure that's been missing, you get the answers that you want about your work, and you start to feel like you're moving forward. Pluto squares Venus until the 25th, and it starts squaring it on the 22nd of November. Now, Venus has been going up against the big boys here, bless her. It was Uranus first, now it's Pluto. Pluto is death and rebirth, okay? So that's really been the theme. What I love, yes, I'm totally enamored with it, I've totally gone with it, I'm totally, this is the man of my dreams, and then it fizzles out and it crashes and burns and then you're left with nothing and then it starts up again. So that's kind of been the theme, you know, I want to do this for work, I don't know what I'm doing, yes I do, no I don't, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, I love it, I don't love it, it's like, give me a break, you know, and the only thing is that is really stable and that's structured and that isn't like that is the universal energy that wants the best for you and is unchanging. So if things do seem a little bit all over the place and topsy-turvy and you're going off the rails in terms of what you really think you want to do, then connect with that source. You know, because sometimes our desires are very tricky. They change like the wind. And it's like, one day I'm here and I want this, and then the other day I'm focused on something totally different. And how do you work with that? It's hard. The moon and the north node quincunx on the 23rd. Moon, north node. The moon again is in your 11th house of other people. And the north node, okay, you've been meeting people and that is continuing here with that opposition. You are continuing to meet people. The 23rd has the potential to meet someone who's going to become a member of your family in future. So that's a friend who's there for life or someone who's a long-term partner or someone who's going to be in your life for a long time. Watch out for that. The full moon occurs on the 25th. The full moon is in Taurus and it's right on top of your rising sign. That's interesting. Full moons are always coming to fruition, coming to terms. This Taurus one is going to be good for you. It's going to ground you. I think it's going to feel okay, it's going to feel quite comfortable, and you'll feel like, okay, I'm coming back down to earth, I'm not like, all the way up here all the time. And I think it'll feel peaceful. The other thing about this month, though, that's interesting is the new moon was in Scorpio, the full moon is in Taurus. Both of those signs are preoccupied with controlling things. Taurus wants to control money in the physical world. Scorpio wants to control other people and feelings. You're someone who values freedom. So this month may feel so all over the place because you're being forced to control things that naturally you would just let happen. So just, again, allow yourself to get into the flow of yourself. Don't, if those barriers of control kind of come up and you hit the wall every once in a while, just kind of don't go, just kind of keep going and flow through it and take care of yourself and be nice to yourself. Yeah. The North Node and Jupiter kind of connect now on the 27th. They sit in your 4th house of family and they square the moon in your 1st. If there is clear and practical communication this month, it's going to be as clear as it can possibly be on the 27th. You can trust the communication for the first time, really, near the end of the month, because at the beginning of the month I told you, listen to yourself, don't listen to other people so much, it's not reliable. 27th, if you do need some answers from another person, that's the time to go speak to them. Uranus and Mars begin to oppose each other, and they stay opposed until the 20th of December. Mars is really powerful, and so is Uranus, and these two coming together, it puts pressure on your relationships because you're going to inflate yourself. Like, think of yourself normal sized and then turn your skin into like rubber or something, add some air, and you just triple in size, and your sense of self and ego is going to be like that. And I think you're going to be very forthright in terms of the way you think your friendships ought to go. And you're not going to be so interested in creating harmony. It's like, if I have a friend and that friend is really just neglectful and crap, okay? If they never do anything with me and they never phone me, and I love them anyway, but they're just a bad friend. Normally, I would just say, well, I like this person, I'm not going to confront them on it, I want them in my life, I want it, I'll just look past it, I'll close an eye, whatever. Some relationships you do that. With this Mars and Uranus connection, what will happen is like, you pick up your phone and say, I would just like to highlight to you that you're a highly neglectful friend and that you said you were going to ring me 3 weeks ago and you still haven't rung me, and I don't need friends like that in my life, so do one. That's Mars and Uranus, okay? And then you finish that relationship. So be careful. Hey, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You're right. You're in the right, because that is a bad friend. But if you want to continue to have that bad friend in your life, sometimes people are under pressure as well. Sometimes people have kids and illnesses and university courses. They can't always be there for you. So it's not always right to be so strident and to say, hey, that's it. The moon and the moon starts to trine Saturn and your sun on the 30th at the end of the month. And I really think that you kind of come to terms with your relationships and where they're going now. And I think things start to settle down at the end of the month, which should be a relief. Welcome news. So I hope you found that useful. If you'd like a private reading with me, please visit the website. It's gregoryscott.com. Click on the readings tab and you'll see that I do astrology readings and tarot readings. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, and you can also find me on Facebook and Twitter and every other social media outlet ever. I am on all of them. I love Instagram. So yes, you can't miss me if you want to look for me. My username is Gregory Scott 444, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.